All right. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashem Shah, Bashem Kakodash. Second, we give honors to the Apostle Jesus, that rule of well, and the peace, blessings, salutations to the hopefully elect out there. Real quick, the Lord's way be edified. This gospel, this truth, this message is given to you Israelites, which consists of the house, the house of the 12 tribes, which consists of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, West Indians. Now, how would a fugitive move? I'm going to get Genesis 4 and 12, 4 and 9, because we also know Cain is the so-called white man, which came reincarnated back into Esau, and Esau is ruling today, and you don't have to believe it. It is what it is. So it's like Job 9:24. The earth has been given to the hands of the wicked. Who is he? If not, who is he? So there goes your question. That's a question. Who's ruling? If it's not the so-called white man, then who? Who's ruling? So Genesis 4:9. And the Lord said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood cried unto me from the ground, and now art thou cursed from the earth. You got to remember, a lot of things kind of speaks for itself. Nothing really likes the so-called white man. He tries to narrate this picture through media as if he got things going on, and if like everything is underneath his control and whatnot. But all in all, nothing really likes his devil. This man, it's like video been going around how we had a Karen trying to tell the ducks not to mate. She screaming at the ducks, and everybody scratching their head. And then eventually she runs in the water. But Esau has a way to him that he just tries to change everything, change the course of nature. Let me get that real quick. Let me get this. Daniel 7:25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High. Who is that? The so-called white man. And shall wear out the saints of the Most High. How does he do that? By constantly pretty much claiming and sending agents and demonizing us and trying to put straits against us to make it seem like we're not the children of the Most High, so-called Negro, Latino, Hispanic, Native Americans, but we are. And think to change times and laws, they shall be given to his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. So pretty much he was going to allow, after the Renaissance, the so-called white man came into power, and he was going to stay in power until what? Yahweh Shah comes back and to take him out that power. Romans, the 9th chapter goes, more into that. Yahweh gave him power and gave him a stiff neck, allowed him to be stiff necked, gave him great arrogance and pride, so he can show the world his power. This man changed laws and changed times. He changes names. He changes nationalities. He took our identity. This man is really truly the master of disguise. Bear with me real quick. It's another one that I wanted. I think it's in Isaiah. Okay. So Isaiah 45. So it says, Isaiah 45, and now woe unto him that striveth with his maker. Let the potsherd strive with the potsherds of the earth. Shall the clay say to him that fashioneth it, what makest thou, or thy work? He have no hands. So like, is this it? Hold on, bear with me. Oh, so like Isaiah 29:16. Surely, surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. For shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not? Or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he have no understanding? Um, One thing I want to show, it was an old picture that we had back in the day. Hold on. Let me see if I can, if this will let me pull up, if it'll pull this up. Um, Damn. Let me see. YT. Let me see if it'll come up. I doubt it. I highly doubt it. Nah. I don't know if I can remember that picture of Esau, a mad scientist dumping like some potions in a pot, and it had F the Most High on it. But that's the spirit of the so-called white man. So going back, it said, which going back to Genesis 4:11, and now art thou cursed from the earth, which have opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. So Esau, what Esau does, and one thing Esau doesn't keep is the land Sabbath. So, ultimately the earth is not really going to yield her strength to Esau, because Esau doesn't keep the commandments, so he doesn't try to give anything rest. He just exerts everything. He burns everybody out. Everybody is just tired because what Esau does, he just overly over exerts everything. It's like a hamster wheel. It keeps turning, 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 turning. He got morning shift, night shift, day shift. The shifts is always turning. This man never. He just a greedy. This man's a greedy fucking bastard. So it says, when thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield to the strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be in the earth. And King said unto the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. And the Lord said unto him, therefore whosoever slave Cain, vengeance shall be taken of him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, and that mark eventually came out with Esau by him losing his pigmentation. Lest any finding him should kill him. And that's why ultimately this is a personal vendetta between Esau, the so-called white man, and Yahweh. And it's going to be paid back. It's going to be paid back during this time now. The upcoming years, because like the scripture says in Romans 9, his sins is going to reach the heavens. So as it said, the fugitive and the vagabond, that's how Esau lives, and that's how he conducts himself. So let me get a couple more scriptures. Um, Let me get now. Obadiah 1:6. How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? And that's by the prophets. Because nowhere in history did the Christians or the Catholics or the other denominations expose who the so-called white man really is. He was able to play, you know, the mask of disguise. So let me get this real quick. Revelation 6. I don't know why I keep blue letter, damn it. Blue letter. Let me see. Revelation 6 and 3, so like 6 and 4. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. And that's the so-called white man coming back into power, after the Renaissance. And that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword, power. Because ultimately, anybody that tried to go against the so-called white man, what happened? He got thrust through. Because ultimately, let me get this. Um, Revelation 7 and 1. And there came one of the seven angels who had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, for I will show thee unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. That's going to be America, Babylon the Great, the so-called white man, Esau, Amalek, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication. And why is that? Because Esau was, thus he had the sword, and ultimately he had what? He was the master of disguise. And I also got Chat GPT up. How would a fugitive move? So it's going to give you a little descriptions. But going back, let me get this real quick. Salaki. All right. So, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication, her lies. So, let me go to Chat GPT. So it says, how would a fugitive move? A fugitive on the run typically moves in ways that aim to avoid detection and stay ahead of the law enforcement. But we know ultimately, the ultimately one that's going to bring judgment upon Esau is Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. But in the masses, yeah, nobody really has seen or really can't pick up what's really going on, because what his wine and his philosophies. Here's a breakdown of how fugitives might move based on criminal cases, law enforcement reports, and behavioral and not and analysis. So it says minimize patterns. So what Esau likes to do is clean up his track record, and he says unpredictable routes, avoids routines and familiar places, frequent changes, often switches vehicles, clothing, and lodging, avoids digital footprint, doesn't use credit cards, phones, or social media. You got to remember, um, the reason why they give you governments is because it's a smokescreen. Um, it's not about Trump. It's not about Democrats. It's not about that goes. Well, he spoke as a lamb, spoke a dragon. Roughly paraphrasing. He basically going into the Republicans and the Democrats. It's like I always forget the scripture, but this man plays both sides, and he got you always looking at the wrong direction. Ultimately, he has you thinking that our people are the worst criminals, and that's really what kind of inspired me of doing this lesson today as well, because um, it's just crazy how Esau blames our people for the problems of the world. You got Esau trying to demonize the so-called Haitians, the Cubans, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Mexicans, Salvadorians, Venezuelans, all the tribes, so-called blacks, etc. But the whole time, this man is the problem of the earth. So, um, two, transportation on foot or bicycle when trying to avoid detection in populated areas, public transit, buses or trains using cash only, avoiding cameras, stolen or borrowed vehicles, avoids registration links to their identity. And you got to understand, the so-called white man owns everything, so he doesn't really have to use his name. It's not no more. You're not really going to see Rothschild, the Bilderbergs, or those great banking names. You're going to see lower levels. Uh, how you say? BlackRock. You're gonna see shit like that, entities like that, But ultimately, they take orders for the higher ups, from the elites, that are Edomites, Amalek. So what Esau does, like if you kind of somewhat know about somewhat how this system runs, you'll know it's not really about your name and credit, and it's the LLC thing, whatever. But that's for something different. But you get what I'm saying. This man doesn't. Everything's a corporation here in America, so it's corporation titles. It's not names, and that's why everybody is they don't really know what to look for and who to blame. Whomever they see on TV, that's who they blame. So, shelter, motels, cheap cash only motels are common. Abandoned buildings or campsites avoids contact with people, and you're not going to see the elites. Let me see. Finances, cash only, avoids ATMs and banks, bartering or odd jobs. Appearance, disguises, changes hairstyle, facial hair, wears hats, sunglasses, clothing swaps, wears layers or shops at thrift stores. Identity theft may use fake IDs, stolen identities, or aliases. Jewish, use white, American. Matter of fact, because we all know how the so-called white man came. When he came into power, he pretty much changed laws and times, and he changed ways, and like it says with an Antiochus, he changed. He pretty much had made a decree that everybody forget about their ways, and they all consort to one agreement, so to speak. So what he pretty much used the banner of, everybody is an American, land of the free, land of the brave. But he used that to what? For to disguise an identity theft, so he can come in as the hero, but he's a zero, and paint the picture as if he's going to come save the day, and as he's the ultimately the one that's going to make things straight. Then he's like what he's doing now is he's causing ruckus and causing problems to bring in the new world order, but he's doing it underneath the disguise of changing so many things around. So you're not really looking at what's really going on. You're looking at the problems that he's setting up, but you're not blaming the so-called white man. You're not really seeing the bigger picture, the large picture was really what he's doing. And why is that? Because matter of fact, let me get this. So Psalm 83 and 4, this real quick. They said, matter of fact, let me Psalm 83 and 1. Keep not thou silence, O power, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O power, for lo thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people. There you go, a fugitive. And consulted against thy hidden ones. And we also know Esau is a cunning hunter. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. Who? You so-called blacks, Latino, Hispanic, Native Americans. Thus them being accused of our brethren. Because them being accused of our brethren, they pretty much can paint the picture as if we're the problem, we're the criminals of the earth. It's funny. I was listening to Donald Trump. I think Elder Yashwamba had a clip of him talking. And he was talking about how Venezuelans and Haitians and all these other so-called Hispanic countries, they open up their doors of jails and prisons and let all the criminals over here. But I'm sitting there like, hold on. Out of all my years living over here, I've known a lot of, so-called immigrants of those nations. And I played sports and etc. with them. And made me think. I'm like, hold on, man, that this nigga's bullshitting because you talking about they open up their prisons and their jails and release all the criminals over here. How dare he say something like that? Because who are you to call anybody a criminal? Look at how you move. Look at how these Edomites have done all this heinous hate, rape, rob, and murder on the earth. And look what he done to the so-called blacks in America and has not had no accountability for it. Shit. All you got to do is go to any museum, history museum in your state, and it'll show you what the so-called white men have done. And there's no accountability for it. But nobody was ever charged. Nobody was ever brought to justice. Nobody was able to walk away free, scot free, and still be enlarged. Meaning, they was able to do all of this, burn our cities, behead us, clip our nuts, etc. Man, I mean, all you got to do is go to your whatever the place that you dwell. All you got to do is go to your museum, your African American museum, and it'll show you all the atrocities the so-called white men done to our people, so-called blacks. And also have Gadite history in there too. You know, and it'll show you. You know what I mean? So, they're always telling you we're criminals, but I mean, what about the so-called white man? You know, what about what you've done in the Middle East? Look at look at what you've done to the other nations. When did you ever get punished for it? It's mighty funny. So they said, for they have consulted together with one consent, they are confederate against thee. The tabernacles in Edom. And I'm gonna stop right there. And you also had the Ishmaelites, Moab, etc. But the point is Edom, and they also had Amalek on there. They know what's up. And going back to the other nations, going back to Revelation 17, they fornicated with her by what? Coming together with Esau, and Esau laying out the blueprint on how they can get over on who? The Israelites. Why? Because they know Esau knows who we are, but he's not going to let the world know. He's going to paint the picture of we're black or we're criminals or we are the problem. While he goes around, rape, robs, and murder, and cause a lot of atrocities. And that's just like a fugitive. So let me go. So it said Revelation 17:3. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations, of filthiness and of fornication. And upon her head was a name written in mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahushua. And when I saw, I wondered with great admiration. So this place here, America, you got a lot of blood in your hands, because what you're ultimately trying to do is paint a picture which is not true. Deception. And it all started with what you would call it. It goes into the 7 heads and the 10 horns. Salaki, real quick. Can we go into the, what is it, 10 horns? So, come on, what's going on here? Y'all know the 7 heads was the German major, Romans, French, Spanish, German minor, British, and the Greeks. Slocky. Belgium, but the 10 horns was Belgium, Denmark, France, Italy. Slocky, hold on. With it, Greece, Netherlands. I can't see this word. Ireland, England, West Germany, and all these were, when these Edomites came into power, and moved those inhabitants that was in those lands, then they came into power. and thus, the infrastructure of those Edomites being set in place to do what? Deceive the world. And then the breeding of basically the offshoot of Rome, the what is it? Damn, what you call it? The wound that was healed, which is the Delhi. What is the Delhi wound that was healed? The Roman Empire that fell, and then America coming back into power. And what you gonna call it? These nations here, NATO, yeah, NATO. NATO, America, Amalek. These are the strongholds of the so-called white man, and what they have done is pretty much use a bunch of deception, rape, robbing, murder, lies, and blasphemy, and Catholic Christianity, whitewashing everything. When they came into power, you had named people. What's his name? Blumenbach, Gouverneur, and Chamberlain, which was I forgot who they were. Forgot who they were. They were Edomites who pretty much started classifying. They stopped the term of using nationalities and tribes, and they started using code names basically on color. So they had the Negroid, Caucasoid, and the Mongoloid. That's how they classified the people. So again, they what is it? Covered fields. The so-called white men have coveted fields. Changed names, changed land names, and moved people out of their territories, and they moved in there, and they just switched their names, and that's how they was able to lie. And really, when you look at it, everybody's confused in this world, and only through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Shah on the prophets, you know really everybody is really getting the real doses and the real message. So like the scripture says, truth shall spread forth from Jerusalem, and we know Jerusalem is a people before a place. So continuing on, um, communication, burner phones, no internet, word of mouth, behavior, low profile, avoids cameras. Uh, so that's pretty much it. That's how a fugitive will move. So that's how Esau moves, man. You're not really gonna know who the elites are. Like, that's why the scripture says, we're not wrestling against flesh and blood. We're going against principalities, because ultimately it's these top bankers, elites, Amalek, that we don't really know where they live or where they be at, but they're here. They're in power, and they use underlings. They use CNN. They use news outlets. They use they use the media for their game, their propaganda, to deceive and keep the focus not on them anymore. you know. But that's pretty much. I'm gonna wrap this thing up. I'll get ready to lay it down. The Lord's will, he was edified with that. Would say shalom.